Chosen one. Have you ever wondered why every relationship you've prayed for crumbled before your eyes? Why every person you thought was the one suddenly vanished like smoke? Why you've spent decades watching friends walk down aisles while you sat alone in empty apartments, wondering if God had somehow forgotten your heart? Stop, right there. What if I told you that every rejection, every ghosting, every night you cried yourself to sleep asking, "What's wrong with me?" wasn't abandonment at all? What if every door that slammed shut in your face was actually heaven's hand protecting something sacred? You weren't overlooked, beloved. You weren't forgotten. You were being preserved. For the 12th of September, listen to me carefully. Tomorrow isn't just another date on your calendar. It's a cosmic intersection, a divine appointment that's been written in the stars since before you took your first breath. While you've been wondering why love keeps passing you by, heaven has been orchestrating the most intricate dance of timing, and tomorrow, that dance reaches its crescendo. You see, chosen ones don't get ordinary love stories. They don't get casual encounters or convenient timing. Their hearts are held in divine escrow until the exact moment when their purpose and their partner collide in perfect alignment. Every tear you've shed in solitude, it was watering the ground for tomorrow's breakthrough. Every prayer that seemed to bounce off heaven's ceiling, it was being stored up like compound interest, and the payment is about to come due. But here's what will shake you to your core. The very loneliness that's been torturing you has been your qualification. The isolation that felt like punishment was actually preparation. Because what God is about to release into your life tomorrow requires someone who's been refined in the fire of solitude, someone who knows their worth isn't determined by relationship status. Before we go deeper into this sacred mystery, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and plant that seed of faith. Right now, as I speak these words, there's a shifting happening in the spiritual realm. Can you feel it? That electricity in the air, that sense that something monumental is about to break loose. That's not your imagination. That's prophecy manifesting in real time. The 12th of September isn't just a date, it's an expiration date. The expiration date on your season of waiting. If your heart is already stirring, if something deep inside is recognizing the truth of these words, type "I receive it" in the comments. Don't scroll past this moment. Don't dismiss what your spirit is confirming. This message was written with your name on it. And what I'm about to reveal will explain why you've walked through years of romantic desert and why that desert ends tomorrow. Stay with me, because this revelation will change everything. How many nights have you sat at that kitchen table, staring at the empty chair across from you? How many birthdays have you blown out candles alone, making the same wish year after year? How many wedding invitations have you opened with trembling hands, knowing you'll be walking into another celebration of what everyone else seems to have, except you? Dear one, I see you. I see you in that apartment at 2 a.m., scrolling through social media, watching your high school classmates post anniversary photos while you wonder if there's something fundamentally broken inside you. I see you at family gatherings, forcing a smile when someone asks, "So, are you seeing anyone?" As if your worth could be measured by your relationship status. You've whispered prayers into the darkness so many times the words feel worn smooth. God, what's wrong with me? Why does love find everyone but me? Am I too old, too damaged, too much, or not enough? The silence that follows those prayers has been deafening, hasn't it? You've been living in what feels like a waiting room with no clock, no magazines, no indication that your number will ever be called. Other people walk through those doors like they have VIP passes to happiness, while you sit there wondering if you even have a ticket. You've watched friends marry their college sweethearts, watched co-workers find love on dating apps, watched your neighbors celebrate golden anniversaries. And there you are, still, waiting, still, wondering. The worst part isn't the loneliness itself. It's the questions the loneliness breeds. You start believing the lies. Maybe I'm too set in my ways. Maybe I missed my window. Maybe God ran out of soulmates by the time he got to me. You've probably even convinced yourself that asking for love at your age is selfish, that you should be grateful for what you have and stop wanting more. But what if every assumption you've made about your singleness has been wrong? Think about Joseph. Here was a man with dreams from God, favor from heaven, a destiny written in the stars. And where did he end up? In a prison cell, forgotten, overlooked. While other prisoners came and went, Joseph remained. Day after day, month after month, year after year. Do you think he wondered if God had made a mistake? Do you think he questioned whether his dreams were just fantasies? The Bible says in Psalm 105-19, "Until the time that his word came to pass, the word of the Lord tested him." Joseph's prison wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every day in that cell was building the character he'd need to rule Egypt. Consider Moses, 80 years old when God called him from the burning bush. 80. For 4 decades, he'd been tending sheep in the wilderness, probably thinking his best years were behind him. His peers had moved on, built lives, left legacies. And there was Moses, alone with the flocks, wondering if he'd missed his purpose entirely. But God wasn't late. Moses had to be seasoned by silence before he could speak to Pharaoh. He had to learn leadership in the wilderness before he could lead a nation through it. Look at Anna the prophetess. Widowed after just 7 years of marriage, she spent the next 84 years serving in the temple. 84 years. That's longer than most people's entire lives. Day after day she prayed and fasted, waiting for the consolation of Israel. People probably thought she was wasting her life, that she should find another husband, settle down, live normally. But Anna wasn't wasting time. She was investing it. And when baby Jesus was brought to the temple, she was the first to recognize the Messiah. Her years of solitude had sharpened her spiritual sight until she could see what others missed. Your singleness isn't punishment, beloved. It's preservation. While others were pouring their hearts into relationships that would drain them, you were being preserved. While they were compromising their values for companionship, you were being refined. While they were settling for good enough, you were being prepared for God's best. Every door that slammed shut wasn't rejection, it was protection. Every person who walked away wasn't your loss, it was your rescue. Because the wrong relationship at the wrong time doesn't just waste years of your life, it can derail your entire destiny. You think you've been forgotten, but you've been hidden. Hidden like a treasure that's too valuable to display until the perfect moment. Hidden like a sword that's too sharp to wield until the right battle. Hidden like a voice that's too powerful to speak until the world is ready to listen. The enemy has been whispering lies to you for years. You're too old. You're too damaged. You've missed your chance. But those whispers aren't prophecy, they're propaganda designed to keep you from recognizing the truth. Your solitude has been your seminary. Your loneliness has been your laboratory. Every tear you've cried in secret has watered the ground of your future. Every prayer that seemed unanswered has been building pressure in the spiritual realm, and that pressure is about to explode into breakthrough. You weren't kept single because you're unworthy of love. You were kept single because the love that's coming requires someone who's been tested by fire, refined by solitude, and proven faithful in the silence. But here's what's about to shatter every assumption you've made about your romantic future. Dear chosen one, let me tell you something that's going to shatter every lie you've believed about your romantic failures. Every person who walked away from you, every relationship that crumbled without explanation, every door that slammed shut just when you thought love was finally yours, none of it was random. It was strategic, divine strategy. You see, most people think relationships are just about two hearts finding each other. But for the chosen, love is an energetic contract. And I need you to understand this with crystal clarity. The wrong contract doesn't just break your heart, it bleeds your destiny dry. Think about it. How many people have you watched pour their life force into relationships that drained them? How many brilliant souls have you seen dim their light to keep someone else comfortable? That's not love, beloved. That's spiritual hemorrhaging. And heaven refused to let that happen to you. The Bible tells us in 2 Corinthians 6:14, "Do not be yoked together with unbelievers." But this goes deeper than religion. This is about frequency. This is about divine assignment. When God has marked you for something extraordinary, He will not allow you to be bound to someone who would anchor you to ordinary. Remember what Jesus said in Matthew 7:6, "Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. Your heart, chosen one, is sacred. Your love is a pearl of great price." And God has been protecting it from those who would trample it underfoot. But here's where it gets mysterious. Here's where heaven's protection looked like rejection. That person who seemed perfect for you, the one who shared your interests, your dreams, maybe even your faith, why did they suddenly lose interest? Why did the chemistry fizzle? Why did conversations that once flowed like honey suddenly turn to dust? Because heaven pushed them out. Not because you weren't enough. Not because you did something wrong. But because their spirit couldn't handle the voltage of your calling. Your presence carries an electrical charge that only your divinely appointed can withstand. Everyone else gets spiritually electrocuted and instinctively pulls away. It's like trying to plug a 110-volt appliance into a 220-volt outlet. The mismatch doesn't just fail, it burns out the circuit entirely. You've felt this, haven't you? The way certain people seem drawn to you initially, then suddenly become distant, cold, almost repelled. That's not your imagination. That's your anointing creating interference with their spiritual frequency. They can sense power on you that they can't access, can't control, can't diminish. So they flee. But God, O chosen one, God has been sealing your life like fine wine hidden in a cellar, protected from light, from air, from anything that would spoil the vintage. While you've been wondering why you're still on the shelf, heaven has been aging you to perfection, ensuring that when you're finally opened, the taste will be worth the wait. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Your season of being sealed wasn't punishment, it was preservation. Your season of being hidden wasn't abandonment, it was maturation. Every night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if you were unlovable, God was whispering, "Not yet, my precious one. They're not ready for what you carry. Wait for the one I'm preparing who can hold your fire without being consumed by it." But why this hour? Why the 12th of September? Why now, after decades of waiting? Because the cosmic clock doesn't tick by human time, it ticks by divine appointment. And tomorrow is the appointed time when heaven says, the sealing is complete. The preservation is finished. The wine is ready. The same stars that witnessed your first heartbreak are aligning tomorrow to herald your last loneliness. The same moon that lit up your solitary prayers is positioning itself to illuminate your pathway to partnership. This isn't astrology, beloved. This is theology. Psalm 19:1 declares, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands." And tomorrow, the heavens are declaring that your season of solitude has served its purpose. But understand this, what's been protected in you isn't just your capacity to love. It's your capacity to love without losing yourself. It's your ability to give your heart without giving away your purpose. It's your strength to stand in partnership without bowing in compromise. The wrong person would have drained this from you, drop by drop, day by day, until you became a shadow of who God created you to be. That's why every door had to close. That's why every almost love had to end. That's why heaven's hand kept pushing away what looked good but would have been spiritual poison. You weren't rejected. You were protected. You weren't passed over. You were preserved. You weren't forgotten. You were sealed until this very hour. And if you can receive this word, if your spirit is confirming that this message carries your name, then type 999 below. It means your old waiting ends and your new chapter begins. Type it as an act of faith, as a declaration to heaven that you're ready to be unsealed. Because tomorrow isn't just another sunrise. It's the dawn of everything you've been prepared to receive. The seal is breaking. The cellar door is opening. And what emerges will astound even you. But first, you need to understand exactly what you've been carrying all these years that made heaven guard you so fiercely. Listen to me, dear one. That crushing loneliness you've carried for decades, that wasn't God's cruelty. That was God's classroom. Every Friday night you spent alone while your friends went on dates. Every wedding invitation that arrived in your mailbox like a knife to your chest. Every Valentine's Day that felt like the universe was mocking your empty arms. You thought you were being punished, but you were being prepared. The furnace of solitude doesn't burn to destroy, it burns to refine. And you, chosen one, have been in that furnace longer than most, because what God is forging in you requires temperatures that would melt ordinary souls. Think about Job. This man lost everything in a single day. His children, his wealth, his health, his friends' support. For months, he sat alone in ashes, scraping his wounds with broken pottery, wondering why the God he served had seemingly abandoned him. But God hadn't abandoned Job. God was proving to heaven and hell that there exists a faith so pure, so unshakable, that it can survive any fire. Your loneliness has been your Job season. Every unanswered prayer, every relationship that died before it could bloom, every night you fell asleep clutching your pillow instead of someone's hand, it was all fire-shaping steel in your soul. Do you understand what I'm telling you? While others found comfort in casual connections, you were being forged into something unbreakable. While they settled for surface-level love, you were being prepared to carry divine union. The very isolation that felt like death was actually birth. Birth of a strength they'll never comprehend. Look at David. Before he ever touched a throne, he lived in caves, cold, dark, dangerous caves, where he ran from King Saul's jealous rage. Psalm after psalm was written in those caverns. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Those words weren't penned in a palace, they were carved out in the loneliness of exile. David's cave years weren't his failure. They were his formation. In the silence, his voice found its power. In the isolation, his faith found its fire. In the darkness, his spirit learned to see what others couldn't. You've been living your cave years, haven't you? Decades of feeling exiled from the love story everyone else seemed to be living. But what if I told you those caves weren't your punishment, they were your preparation? What if every tear you cried alone was watering the ground for a harvest only you could reap? For you seniors listening to this, you know something the younger generation doesn't understand yet. You know that some wisdom can only be earned through time. Some clarity can only come through seasons of stripping away. The world sees your grey hair and thinks decline, but God sees your silver crown and calls it qualification. Your loneliness refined your spiritual vision in ways marriage never could have. While others were distracted by human affection, you learned to hear God's voice with crystal clarity. While they were building relationships on shallow foundations, you were building an unshakable foundation with the Almighty Himself. That's why your prayers carry more weight now. That's why your discernment cuts through deception like a sword. That's why younger people find themselves drawn to your presence without understanding why. You've been tempered in fires they've never felt. Consider Elijah. After his greatest victory on Mount Carmel, calling down fire from heaven and defeating 450 prophets of Baal, he found himself alone in a cave, so depressed he wanted to die. "I have been very zealous for the Lord," he cried. "I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too." But God's response wasn't rebuke. It was revelation. In that cave of isolation, God spoke to Elijah, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, not in the wind, but in a gentle whisper. The very silence that felt like abandonment became the place of most intimate encounter. Your silence, dear one, has been your sanctuary. Every lonely evening was an invitation to intimacy with the divine that married people rarely experience. Every solitary moment was God saying, "Come closer. Let me show you who you really are when all the noise falls away." And what did he show you? He showed you that you don't need another person to complete you, because you were never incomplete. He showed you that your worth isn't determined by someone else's desire for you, because your value was established before the foundation of the world. He showed you that you are not half of something waiting to be whole. You are already whole, waiting for someone worthy of your wholeness. But here's what will shatter every remaining doubt in your heart. Loneliness didn't break you. It revealed you. You discovered you could survive rejection and still love. You learned you could endure silence and still speak hope. You proved you could walk through the valley of romantic death and still believe in resurrection. You are untouchable, not because you're cold or distant, but because you've been forged into something so rare, so precious, that only divine intervention can bring someone qualified enough to stand beside you. Every person who walked away wasn't rejection, it was protection. Every door that stayed locked wasn't denial, it was preservation. Every night you spent alone wasn't punishment, it was preparation for a love story so magnificent that it required someone refined by fire to carry it. And tomorrow, that strength forged in the furnace of solitude collides with destiny itself. The very fire that seemed designed to consume you has instead created something indestructible, something ready, something worthy of what the 12th of September is about to unleash. But are you ready to understand why the calendar of heaven chose tomorrow as your moment of convergence? But this story goes deeper than your personal heartbreak, chosen one. Much deeper. What you've endured in your singleness has never been just about you. It has always been bigger, stretching back through the generations before you, like a chain of broken hearts and shattered dreams. The loneliness you carried, the cycles of rejection, the patterns of abandoned love stories, these weren't coincidences. They were inherited scripts, written long before you were born, waiting for someone strong enough to rip them apart. That someone was you. Look at your family line. Really look. Maybe you saw relationships built on survival instead of love. Maybe you witnessed patterns of abandonment that repeated like a generational curse, fathers who left, mothers who stayed but checked out emotionally, marriages that lasted in name only while souls died slowly inside. Some of you grew up watching people stay in connections that drained the very life out of them because leaving felt scarier than staying trapped. Whether spoken or unspoken, those patterns pressed down on you like a silent law. This is what love looks like in our family. This is all we deserve. This is our portion. But the universe didn't let you repeat them. That's why it blocked you from entering the same cycles, even when it looked unfair, even when you begged for any connection at all. Your solitude wasn't punishment, it was a shield against generational repetition. When you wondered why love seemed to pass you by while everyone else found their person, the truth was that you were placed in the gap between the old and the new. You became the barrier that stopped those patterns from continuing into the next generation. By holding you apart, the universe forced you to face what your ancestors couldn't heal, to feel what they buried, and to choose differently. Every time you resisted settling for half-hearted love, you were breaking a chain that had been handed down for decades. Every time you chose silence over chaos, every time you walked away, instead of repeating a toxic loop, you were undoing the curse. And those choices weren't small, dear one. They were cosmic. They rewrote the future. Think about Joseph in Genesis. When famine devastated the land, it wasn't just Egypt that suffered, it was his entire family line back in Canaan. His father Jacob, his brothers who had betrayed him, their children, their children's children all facing starvation. But Joseph had been positioned, through years of slavery and imprisonment, to break that cycle of destruction. Genesis 50:20 records his words, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Your singleness has been your Egypt. Your loneliness has been your prison. But like Joseph, you've been strategically positioned to save many lives, starting with your own bloodline. You didn't just break the curse, you became the proof that it can be broken." Chosen ones are not just healing themselves, they are rewriting the love story of their entire bloodline. This is why your singleness felt so heavy, so long, so impossible to carry at times. Because you weren't only carrying your own heart, you were carrying the unhealed weight of generations. The nights you cried alone, the moments you questioned if love was even meant for you, the endless waiting, all of it was a kind of sacred labor. You were birthing a new standard of love into your lineage, one that no one before you had the strength to hold. Your great-grandmother, who stayed in a loveless marriage for 40 years, because that's what women do, she was praying for you. Your grandfather, who drank away the pain of feeling unloved, he was crying out for someone in his bloodline to break free. Your mother, who settled for crumbs and called it commitment, she was secretly hoping someone would come along who refused to accept less than they deserved. Every ancestor who stayed trapped, who accepted abuse as affection, who confused dependency with devotion, they were all praying for a deliverer, someone who would finally say, "Enough, it ends here." This family will know what real love looks like. And here's what will stagger you. The 12th of September isn't just marking your personal breakthrough. It's marking the end of generational bondage that has held your family captive for decades, maybe centuries. When that shift comes tomorrow, it's not just your story that changes. It's the story of every child who will be born into your lineage from this day forward. They will grow up in a family where love is sacred, not survival, where partnership is powerful, not punishing, where commitment comes from choice, not chains. You became the one who finally said, "It ends here." The cycles of abandonment, betrayal, and loveless survival have no authority over you anymore. The solitude that once felt like exile was actually initiation, preparing you to be the ancestor your descendants will thank God for. But here's the weight of this revelation that should make you tremble. If you had settled, if you had given in to the pressure and married the wrong person just to end the loneliness, you would have passed those broken patterns to the next generation. Your children would have learned that love means settling. Your grandchildren would have inherited the same cycles of dysfunction. But you didn't. You held the line. You carried the weight. You broke the curse. And now, with the 12th of September dawning, that curse is no longer yours to carry. The cycles that tried to claim you have been shattered by your refusal to repeat them. What your ancestors couldn't break, you demolished with your determination to wait for what was real. But if this is true, if your singleness really was about breaking generational chains, then what happens when those chains are finally gone? Dear chosen one, what I'm about to reveal has been locked in heaven's vault since the foundation of the world. For years, maybe decades, you've wondered why your romantic life felt like a jigsaw puzzle with missing pieces. Why every relationship crumbled just when it seemed promising. Why love kept slipping through your fingers like sand. But here's the shocking truth that will rewrite everything you thought you knew about your story. Heaven has been circling the 12th of September on the cosmic calendar. Not randomly, not accidentally, with surgical precision. Think about Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Your season of isolation wasn't punishment, beloved. It was preparation. Every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every night you fell asleep, wondering if you were destined to walk this earth alone, it was all building toward tomorrow. You see, God doesn't operate on human timelines. He operates on divine architecture, precise, calculated, undeniable. And the 12th of September, it's the cornerstone of that architecture in your life. For months, maybe years, you felt the pressure building, haven't you? That restlessness in your spirit, that sense that something massive was approaching but you couldn't name it, that electricity in the air that made you feel like you were standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting for something to either pull you back or push you into flight. That pressure wasn't anxiety, dear one. That was prophecy pressing against the walls of time, demanding to break through. Listen carefully. On the 11th of September, the waiting room closed. The cosmic lock that kept you sealed in solitude. It turned. The gears of destiny that have been frozen in place for decades, they're moving. And tomorrow, the 12th of September, those doors don't just crack open, they explode. This isn't superstition. This isn't wishful thinking. This is divine architecture at its most precise. The same God who told Abraham his descendants would be as numerous as the stars is the same God who has been counting down the days, hours, and minutes until your season of hiddenness ends. But here's what will shock you to your core. You weren't kept single because you weren't ready for love. You were kept single because love wasn't ready for you. The depth of connection you're about to experience, the level of spiritual and emotional intimacy that's approaching your life, it required both you and your future partner to be refined in separate fires until you could handle the intensity without combusting. Think about Joseph. 13 years from pit to palace. 13 years of preparation that looked like punishment. But Genesis 41 to 46 tells us he was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh. 30. The exact age when his character matched his calling. Divine timing isn't just about when, it's about readiness colliding with opportunity. Your the 12th of September isn't just another sunrise, beloved. It's the day your hidden story collides with your revealed destiny. The day your prepared heart meets your prepared partner. The day the universe stops saying not yet and starts shouting now. But let me ask you something that might cut deep. How many times have you almost given up? How many nights have you stared at the ceiling wondering if God had forgotten your address? How many weddings have you attended with a smile on your face but tears in your heart? Every single one of those moments was a test. Could you hold on when holding on felt impossible? Could you trust heaven's timing when earth's calendar made no sense? Could you believe in a love you'd never seen when everyone around you was settling for love that barely resembled the real thing? You passed that test. That's why you're still here. That's why your heart is still open. That's why tomorrow matters. Isaiah 60 to 22 declares, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. Not when you think it's right. Not when society says it's time. When HE declares the season has shifted. And beloved, that season shifts tomorrow." The spiritual atmosphere around your life is about to change so dramatically that people will notice something different about you before you even speak. Your energy will carry the frequency of fulfillment instead of longing. Your presence will radiate completion instead of searching. Because the 12th of September doesn't just bring love, it brings the love that was specifically designed for your destiny. This isn't about finding someone to fill the empty spaces in your life. This is about two complete souls recognizing they were created to amplify each other's purpose. This isn't about ending loneliness. This is about beginning partnership that will shake kingdoms. But here's the urgency that should grip your spirit right now. Divine timing has zero tolerance for hesitation. When heaven's alarm goes off, you don't hit snooze. When the cosmic door swings open, you don't stand there wondering if you're worthy to walk through it. The 12th of September is your moment, not next month. Not when you feel more ready. Tomorrow. The lock has turned. The gears are moving. The waiting room that held you for so long is about to become the launching pad that propels you into the love story heaven has been writing since before you were born. If you believe this is your hour, if something deep in your spirit is confirming that these words are more than coincidence, don't leave this moment without sealing it. Comment "I'm ready" below. Let heaven see your declaration. Let the universe witness your faith. And share this word so others can step into their own divine alignment. Because tomorrow isn't just about your breakthrough, beloved. It's about the breakthrough that's been waiting for you to finally believe you're worth it. Are you ready to stop questioning God's timing and start trusting His precision? When the sun rose on the 12th of September, the air felt different. The silence itself was pregnant with change. You felt it, didn't you? That subtle shift in the atmosphere around your life. Like the moment right before thunder breaks, when the very molecules seem to hold their breath. Something cracked open in the spiritual realm yesterday. Something that had been sealed for decades. And now, as you sit here listening to my voice, you're living in the aftershock of a cosmic earthquake that has rewritten the blueprint of your destiny. But here's what most people don't understand about divine shifts. They think breakthrough means everything suddenly gets easier. They imagine that when God moves, life becomes a gentle river flowing toward blessing. But that's not how heaven operates, beloved. That's not how spiritual warfare works. When Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, did Pharaoh just let them walk away peacefully to number? The moment they stepped into freedom, the real battle began. Exodus 14:8 tells us that Pharaoh pursued the Israelites, who were marching out boldly. Their breakthrough became their greatest test. The ground beneath you has shifted. What once was immovable is cracking. The walls that kept love at a distance are crumbling. But understand this. When prison walls fall, they don't fall silently. They crash down with tremendous force, shaking everything around them. You've been feeling it, haven't you? Since yesterday, something in your spirit has been restless, agitated. Not because something's wrong, but because something's awakening. The very foundations of your life are being rearranged, and your soul can sense the reconstruction happening in real time. This is what happens when decades of divine delay suddenly release. It's not a gentle trickle, it's a dam bursting. And while that sounds beautiful, let me tell you something that might shock you. Not everyone survives their breakthrough. Some people pray for years for God to move, but when He finally does, the velocity of change overwhelms them. They've grown so comfortable in their waiting rooms that when the door finally opens, they freeze. They sabotage what they've prayed for because receiving it requires becoming someone they've never been before. Dear chosen one, are you ready for what your breakthrough demands of you? Because here's the truth that will shake you to your core. This shift on the 12th of September wasn't just about ending your season of singleness. It was about summoning you to war. War for your destiny. War for your calling. War for the love story that hell has been trying to prevent since the day you were born. The enemy knows something you're just beginning to understand. When a chosen one finally steps into divine alignment, when their personal breakthrough connects with their cosmic purpose, they don't just get blessed, they become dangerous. Dangerously powerful, dangerously anointed, dangerously unstoppable. This is why your singleness lasted so long. Not because God was withholding love from you, but because He was withholding you from a battle you weren't ready to fight. Every year of solitude was boot camp. Every rejection was training. Every lonely night was preparation for a warfare most people never even know exists. But now the training is over. The preparation phase has ended, and what's coming next will require every ounce of strength you've built in the wilderness. Listen carefully. When David finally faced Goliath, do you think that giant appeared randomly? Number. 1 Samuel 17:4 tells us Goliath had been taunting Israel for 40 days and 40 nights. He was waiting, watching, preparing for the moment when someone would finally be brave enough to accept his challenge. Your Goliath has been waiting too. Waiting for this moment when your breakthrough would finally draw you onto the battlefield where your destiny will either be claimed or crushed. But after the breakthrough, there comes the test. The test of whether you'll run back to your comfort zone or press forward into the unknown territory God has prepared for you. The test of whether you'll shrink under pressure or expand into the fullness of who you were created to be. Some of you are already feeling the resistance, already sensing the opposition rising against this shift in your life. Old insecurities are screaming louder. Past failures are replaying in your mind like broken records. Fear is whispering that maybe you're not really chosen after all. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual warfare. Because the enemy knows that if you fully step into what the 12th of September unlocked, if you embrace the love and purpose that are now rushing toward you, his hold on your bloodline is finished forever. This is bigger than just your personal happiness. This is about generations, about bloodlines being rewritten, about cycles of loneliness and abandonment being shattered once and for all. Your breakthrough isn't just about you finding love. It's about you becoming the love that transforms your entire family tree. But transformation requires metamorphosis. And metamorphosis, beloved, always looks like death before it looks like life. The caterpillar doesn't gently evolve into a butterfly. It dissolves completely in the cocoon, becoming liquid before emerging with wings. Are you prepared to dissolve? Are you ready to let go of every version of yourself that was built for surviving instead of thriving? Because what's coming next won't fit into your old identity. The love that's approaching you won't settle for the person you used to be. The aftershock is just beginning. What felt like an earthquake yesterday was only the first tremor. The real shifting, the deep reconstruction of your reality, starts now. And I need to ask you something that might terrify you. What if this shift wasn't just to set you free, but to summon you to war for your destiny? But listen to me very carefully, chosen one. The moment you stepped into this revelation, the moment your heart stirred with recognition, something else stirred in the darkness. The enemy has been watching. He's been monitoring every word that's penetrated your spirit tonight. And right now, as the locks of delay begin to crack open, he's in full panic mode. You see, Satan doesn't fear your loneliness. He orchestrated it. He doesn't fear your tears. He collected them. But what terrifies him to his core is the moment you discover that your singleness wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Because when a chosen one awakens to their true value, when they realize they've been preserved for divine purpose, they become unstoppable. And unstoppable people break his kingdom. This is why, in the next 24 hours, you're going to face the most intense spiritual warfare of your entire life. I'm not trying to scare you, I'm trying to prepare you. Because the enemy's final strategy isn't to keep you single forever. His final strategy is to flood you with counterfeits right before your breakthrough arrives. Think about Jesus. The moment he was baptized, the moment heaven declared, "This is my beloved Son." What happened next? The wilderness. 40 days of the devil's most vicious attacks, not before the anointing. After it. Matthew 4:1 tells us, "Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil." The attack came because the activation was real. Look at the children of Israel. They crossed the Red Sea on dry ground. Pharaoh's army was destroyed. Victory was complete. But what happened immediately after their greatest miracle? Amalek attacked. Exodus 17:8 says the Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. The warfare intensified because the deliverance was authentic. Are you seeing the pattern? Every time God moves his people from bondage to breakthrough, the enemy launches his most desperate assault, not to prevent the victory but to steal it at the finish line. And here's what's going to shock you. Starting tonight, starting tomorrow, the very things you've been praying for are going to start appearing. But they won't all be from God. Some will be sophisticated deceptions, perfectly timed to derail you just before your real destiny arrives. That person who's been ignoring you for months, they're going to suddenly text you. That opportunity you gave up on, it's going to resurface with new urgency. That ex who broke your heart, they're going to return with promises of change. These aren't coincidences. These are strategic distractions designed to make you settle for Egypt when Canaan is just one step away. When a lock breaks, the rats scatter. When your season of hiding ends, everything that was held back, both good and counterfeit, comes rushing forward at once. And the enemy is counting on you being so desperate for relief that you'll grab the first thing that looks like love, even if it's poison disguised as medicine. This is the hour of the great test. Not the test of your patience, you've already passed that. This is the test of your discernment. Can you tell the difference between God's provision and Satan's substitution? Can you distinguish between divine timing and demonic desperation? Because here's what the enemy knows that you're just discovering. Your real assignment isn't just about finding love. It's about modeling a love so pure, so powerful, so aligned with heaven's heart that it rewrites the narrative for every person watching your life. The enemy knows that when you step into divine partnership, you don't just get a spouse, you get a ministry. You don't just find happiness, you become a weapon against every lie he's ever told about love. That's why he's about to flood your life with almost right opportunities. People who are 80% perfect but 20% poison. Situations that feel like answered prayer, but require you to compromise your newly discovered worth. Relationships that promise relief from loneliness, but demand you shrink back into the person you used to be. And here's the most dangerous part. These counterfeits won't look obviously wrong. They'll look like blessings. They'll feel like breakthrough. They'll arrive with perfect timing and compelling stories. The devil doesn't tempt chosen ones with obviously evil things. He tempts them with good things that aren't God things. Remember, Satan offered Jesus bread when he was hungry, kingdoms when he was destined to rule, even protection when he was vulnerable. None of these were inherently evil offers. They were good things offered at the wrong time, through the wrong source, for the wrong purpose. The same strategy is about to be deployed against you. Every unfulfilled desire, every lonely night, every question about your worth, the enemy kept inventory of all of it. And now he's preparing to offer you relief from every pain point, hoping you'll trade your destiny for immediate comfort. But I need you to remember something that will save your future. God's plan doesn't require you to settle. His provision doesn't ask you to compromise. His love doesn't demand you become smaller to receive it. If any opportunity showing up requires you to abandon the standards you've built through years of refining, it's not from heaven. You've been preserved for something specific, something that matches the fire you've walked through, something that honors the growth you've achieved, something that accelerates your purpose instead of distracting from it. Don't trade that for counterfeit comfort that feels good today but costs you everything tomorrow. If you've already felt this warfare beginning, if you've sensed the sudden urgency of old options resurfacing, if you recognize the desperation disguised as opportunity, write "I see it" in the comments. Declare that you recognize the counterfeit, because recognition is the first step to resistance. The enemy's last attempt is always his most convincing, but you didn't survive years of solitude just to settle for synthetic love when the real thing is 24 hours away. But how do you stand firm when everything in you wants to reach for relief? How do you wait for God's best when the enemy's almost good enough is right in front of you? Beloved, I need you to stop right now and look at yourself, not in your bathroom mirror, not through the world's eyes. I need you to see yourself through heaven's mirror, because God holds up a mirror not of glass but of fire, and in it, you don't see your wounds, you see your crown. For too long, you've been looking at yourself through the broken lens of rejection. Every no became evidence that you weren't enough. Every goodbye became proof that love wasn't meant for you. Every gray hair, every wrinkle, every slower step became a countdown to irrelevance. But that mirror was cracked from the beginning. Listen to me carefully. Those scars on your heart, they're not decay, they're battle wounds from a war you've been winning. That silver in your hair, it's not a sign you're fading, it's a crown of perseverance. Proverbs 16:31 declares, "Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life." Every line on your face tells a story of endurance that younger generations can't even comprehend. You've been seeing yourself as damaged goods sitting on a shelf too long, but heaven sees you as aged wine, perfectly matured for this exact moment. You think you're running out of time. No, dear one, you're running into your season. What if the loneliness was never about who you lost? What if it was never about who rejected you? What if every empty chair at your dinner table, every silent phone, every night you went to bed alone, wasn't punishment but preparation? What if the loneliness was never about who you lost, but about who you're becoming? You see, while others were learning love through trial and error, you were learning something deeper. You were learning your worth without validation. You were discovering strength without support. You were finding your voice in the silence. The world taught you that being alone meant being unwanted, but God was teaching you that being alone meant being untouchable by anything that wasn't destined for you. Think about Moses, 80 years old when God called him to deliver a nation. 80. The world would have put him out to pasture, but God was just getting started. Moses' response, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh?" But God didn't answer who he was. God answered who he was. I am who I am. Your identity isn't based on your age, your past, or your relationship status. Your identity is rooted in the great I am. Every senior citizen watching this has been told the lie that your prime years are behind you. That love is for the young. That purpose expires with youth. But that's not God's mathematics. Sarah laughed at 90 when God promised her a son. She laughed because she thought it was too late. But Genesis 21:6 records her saying, "God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." Her laughter of doubt became laughter of joy when she realized God's timing doesn't follow earthly calendars. You've been measuring yourself by the wrong metrics. Society counts your years. God counts your faithfulness. The world sees your physical limitations. Heaven sees your spiritual authority. They see retirement. God sees redeployment. But here's what will rock you to your core. All those years of being passed over, overlooked, forgotten by potential partners, that wasn't rejection. That was protection. 1 Corinthians 7:7 says, "I wish that all of you were as I am." But each of you has your own gift from God. One has this gift, another has that. Paul understood something that most people miss. Singleness isn't a sentence. It's a gift. A gift that allows you to serve God with undivided attention. Every person who walked away from you was divinely redirected because they weren't equipped to handle the weight of your calling. You think you were too much for them? You were exactly right. You carry too much purpose, too much destiny, too much fire to be wasted on someone who couldn't see past your surface. The enemy whispered lies in your ear for decades. You're too old now. Love has passed you by. You missed your chance. But those weren't God's thoughts about you. Isaiah 55:8 reminds us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." While you were thinking it was over, God was thinking it was just beginning. You are not hidden anymore. You are revealed as chosen. The test is complete. The refinement is finished. The preparation period has ended. What you've been through wasn't random suffering. It was systematic shaping. Every tear carved out space for joy. Every disappointment cleared the path for divine appointment. Every lonely night was boot camp for the authority you now carry. Look at yourself again in heaven's mirror. That person staring back isn't a leftover from someone else's feast. You're the main course that's been slow cooking to perfection. You're not the consolation prize. You're the grand finale that heaven has been saving for the perfect moment. The loneliness taught you to commune with God in ways married people never experience. The silence taught you to hear his voice above all other noise. The waiting taught you that his timing is worth trusting, even when it makes no earthly sense. You are not a senior citizen hoping for scraps of love. You are a seasoned warrior stepping into your finest hour. The same God who kept you single all this time isn't finished with you. He's just getting started. And tomorrow, the 12th of September, marks the end of one chapter and the explosive beginning of another. But first, you need to understand why this shift is happening now and what cosmic forces have been moving behind the scenes to orchestrate this moment. Dear Chosen One, what I'm about to reveal will shatter every small dream you've ever carried about your purpose on this earth. Because the 12th of September wasn't just about ending your romantic drought. It was about activating a divine assignment that's been dormant in your DNA since the day you were born. You see, while you've been asking God, "Why am I still alone?" heaven has been asking a different question. Are they finally ready to carry what we've been preparing them for? Your singleness was never about punishment. It was about preparation for a mission so heavy, so sacred, so absolutely critical to the kingdom of God, that ordinary love would have crushed it before it could even take its first breath. Listen to me carefully. Your life is a blueprint drawn in heaven before the foundation of the world, and the 12th of September inked the next line, the line that reads, "Assignment activated, intercessor deployed, cycle breaker commissioned." You think you've been waiting for love? No, beloved. Love has been waiting for you to become who you needed to be, to handle it alongside the weight of eternity itself. Look at Jeremiah 1-5. "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." Before you were even a thought in your parents' minds, God was designing you for something that would require decades of solitary refinement. Every tear you shed in isolation, it was training your heart to feel the pain of strangers. Every prayer you whispered in the dark, it was building your capacity to stand in the gap for people who will never know your name. Every rejection that broke your heart, it was teaching you to love without expecting anything in return. Because here's what will rock you to your core. You weren't kept single to eventually find someone to complete you. You were kept single to become someone who could complete others. Your assignment is healing, beloved. Not just your own wounds, but the wounds of generations. Not just your own family cycles, but the cycles that have been poisoning bloodlines for centuries. You are the answer to prayers that grandmothers whispered on their deathbeds. You are the breakthrough that great-grandfathers begged God for in fields they never owned. Think about Moses. 40 years in Pharaoh's palace learning to lead. 40 years in the wilderness learning to follow. 80 years of preparation for a mission that would liberate millions. His singleness during those wilderness years wasn't punishment. It was the silence necessary to hear the voice from the burning bush. Your wilderness is ending. Your burning bush moment has arrived. But let me tell you something that will terrify the enemy and electrify your spirit. Your assignment is too heavy for ordinary love. That's why heaven delayed you until now. That's why every relationship that looked promising crumbled. Because ordinary people, with ordinary hearts, carrying ordinary burdens, could never stand beside someone called to bear the weight of generational healing. The love that's coming for you now, it's not coming to distract you from your mission. It's coming to amplify it. It's not coming to make you comfortable. It's coming to make you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Isaiah 61:1 declares, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners." That's not just Jesus talking, beloved. That's your job description. You are the binder of broken hearts. You are the proclaimer of freedom. You are the light that pierces generational darkness. And now, post the 12th of September, you don't get to hide anymore. You don't get to play small. You don't get to use your age as an excuse or your past as a disqualifier. The assignment is activated, and heaven is watching to see what you'll do with it. Every person who comes into your life now comes with purpose. Every conversation becomes an opportunity for healing. Every prayer becomes a weapon against ancestral curses. Every word you speak carries the weight of deliverance. But here's the challenge that will separate the called from the chosen. You must guard this new season fiercely. The enemy is going to send distractions disguised as opportunities. He's going to tempt you with comfort when God is calling you to courage. He's going to whisper that you're too old, too broken, too ordinary to carry such a weighty assignment. Don't you dare listen to him. At 70, Moses split the Red Sea. At 84, Anna recognized the Messiah. At 99, Abraham became the father of nations. Your age isn't your limitation. Your experience is your equipment. Your scars aren't your shame. They're your credentials. The people who rejected you before the 12th of September, they're going to try to come back now, but you cannot afford to give your anointed energy to anyone who couldn't see your value when you were hidden. Guard your assignment. Protect your calling. Be selective with your yes. Because what God is about to do through you will echo through eternity. The chains you break won't just affect your family, they'll affect families you've never met. The prayers you pray won't just shift your circumstances, they'll shift atmospheres over entire cities. Your singleness wasn't a waiting room, it was a war room. And now you're being deployed as a weapon of mass healing in a world that's bleeding to death from generational wounds. This is your moment. This is your hour. This is your assignment. If you're ready to stop playing victim to your circumstances and start walking as the victor God created you to be, if you're ready to embrace the weight of your calling instead of running from it, if you're ready to become the answer to someone else's desperate prayer, then type "I accept the assignment" in the comments right now. Let heaven see your yes. Let the angels record your surrender. Let your ancestors celebrate your courage. Because what happens next will require everything you've learned in the silence. And it will be more beautiful, more powerful, and more purpose-filled than anything you ever dared to imagine in your loneliest moments. But here's where everything you thought you knew about love gets shattered into a million pieces. Because what's coming for you isn't just romance, beloved. What's descending from heaven's throne room tomorrow isn't just companionship or even deep connection. It's warfare. You see, the enemy has been terrified, absolutely terrified of this moment. While you've been crying yourself to sleep wondering why you're alone, hell has been holding emergency meetings about the 12th of September. Because they know something you're just beginning to understand. The partner you're about to meet, they won't drain you. They won't diminish your light or distract you from your calling. No, chosen one, they will fight beside you. Listen to me carefully. God doesn't just hand crowns to his chosen ones, he hands them swords. And when two sword carriers find each other, when two kingdom warriors join forces, the gates of hell tremble. You think your singleness was about waiting for love? You were waiting for your battle partner. Think about Adam and Eve for a moment, but not the Sunday school version, the real version. Genesis 2:18 says, "It is not good for man to be alone." But why? Why wasn't solitude sufficient for the first human being walking in perfect communion with God himself? Because Adam had dominion to establish. He had a garden to tend, animals to name, creation to steward. He needed someone who didn't just love him. He needed someone who could rule beside him. Eve wasn't created to complete Adam emotionally. She was created to complete his authority. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. Genesis 5:2. Did you catch that? Their name singular, Adam. They weren't two separate people who fell in love. They were one governmental force split into two bodies for maximum impact. That's what you've been waiting for, dear one. Not someone to fill your loneliness, someone to multiply your authority. The marriage you're about to step into won't be built on romance novels and Valentine's Day cards. It will be forged in the fires of spiritual warfare. When you wake up beside this person, you won't just be thinking about breakfast and bills. You'll be strategizing about souls and strongholds. Because here's the shocking truth the church won't tell you. Marriage isn't primarily about happiness, it's about dominion. When two people covenant together under God's authority, they don't just get a relationship, they get jurisdiction, spiritual jurisdiction over territories that hell thought it owned. That's why the enemy fights so hard to keep the right people apart. Not because he cares about your feelings, but because he knows what happens when heaven's generals stop fighting alone. Remember David and Jonathan? 1 Samuel 18:1 says the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David. But this wasn't just friendship, beloved. This was covenant. And look what happened when they joined forces. Goliaths fell, kingdoms shook. Entire Philistine armies fled before two men who fought as one. That's coming for you. The person heaven is sending you has been walking through their own wilderness. While you were learning to stand alone, they were learning to fight alone. While you were being stripped of everything that wasn't essential, they were being forged in fires you'll never see. And tomorrow, when your paths cross, it won't be accident. It will be alignment. Two warriors recognizing each other across a battlefield. But understand this. When God gives you a crown, He expects you to wear it. When He hands you a sword, He expects you to swing it. The love that's coming for you tomorrow isn't a retirement plan from spiritual warfare. It's a promotion into higher levels of authority. Some of you have been single for 20, 30, 40 years. You thought God forgot about you. You thought you missed your chance. But what if I told you that every year of solitude was boot camp? What if every rejection was target practice? What if every broken heart was teaching you how to fight without bleeding out? The enemy has been whispering lies in your ear. You're too old for love. You're too set in your ways. You've missed your window. But those are the desperate screams of a kingdom that knows its time is up. Because when seasoned warriors finally unite, when two people who've learned to stand alone decide to stand together, the collision creates supernatural momentum. Your future spouse hasn't been living an easy life either. They've been in their own desert, asking their own questions, fighting their own giants. But tomorrow, when heaven orchestrates your meeting, you'll recognize each other instantly, not because of physical attraction or shared interests, but because you'll see the same fire in their eyes that's been burning in yours. The fire of purpose, the fire of calling, the fire of someone who's been prepared for war. And when you join hands, you won't just be holding each other, you'll be holding weapons. Love becomes your armor, beloved. Covenant becomes your shield. Unity becomes your unstoppable force against every principality and power that thought your territory belonged to darkness. The marriage you step into will shake nations. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't spiritual fantasy. When two of God's chosen ones stop fighting alone and start fighting together, kingdoms shift. Look at Aquila and Priscilla in Acts 18, one couple. But they shaped the entire early church, mentored apostles, and turned their home into a launching pad for revival. That's your future. If you can feel this truth resonating in your bones, if something inside you is standing at attention hearing these words, then speak it aloud right now. My crown and sword are ready. Say it like you mean it. Say it like someone who's done waiting and ready for war. Because tomorrow isn't just bringing you love, chosen one. Tomorrow is bringing you your battle partner, your co-regent, your other half in the greatest spiritual conquest this generation has ever seen. Beloved chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred journey together, I need you to carry these truths deep in your heart. Your singleness was never abandonment, it was appointment. Every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, every door that closed in your face was heaven's hand protecting what was too precious to be given away carelessly. You weren't forgotten. You were being prepared for a love story that would echo through eternity. Remember this. The 12th of September isn't just marking time, it's marking transformation. The cosmic shift happening tomorrow is the universe finally saying yes to what your heart has been crying out for. But more than that, it's the moment when your purpose and your partner converge into something that will shake the very foundations of darkness. And hear me clearly, you are not walking this path alone. Even when the silence felt deafening, even when the waiting felt endless, the God who counts every tear you've shed has been orchestrating every detail of your love story. He's been writing your happy ending while you thought you were living your tragedy. But beyond God's faithfulness, you have something beautiful right here, right now. Look at these comments flowing beneath this video. See these hearts connecting across time zones and continents. You are part of something magnificent. A community of chosen ones who understand your journey because they've walked the same path. We are here. We see you. We believe in you. And we will pray with you as you step into everything God has prepared. Let me ask you this final question, and let it settle deep in your spirit. If tomorrow really is the day your waiting ends, if the 12th of September truly is the cosmic turning point we've been discussing, what will you do with this revelation? Will you step boldly into your destiny, or will you let fear convince you to stay in the familiar comfort of your solitude? Before I release you into your tomorrow, join me in this prayer. Wherever you are, in your living room, lying in your bed, driving in your car, place your hand on your heart and let me speak over your life. Almighty Father, Creator of love itself, I come before you now carrying every precious soul who has heard this message. Lord, you see them, not just their loneliness, but their loyalty, not just their pain, but their perseverance, not just their questions, but their quiet faith that kept them believing when believing hurt. Father, I pray that you would flood their hearts with peace right now. Let them feel your presence like a warm embrace, reminding them that they have never been alone. Every step they've taken, you've ordered. Every tear they've cried, you've collected. Every prayer they've whispered, you've treasured. God, tomorrow is the 12th of September, and I'm asking you to move in ways that will leave no doubt that you are still the God of miracles. Open doors that have been sealed for decades. Orchestrate divine appointments that will take their breath away. Let them encounter love that doesn't just fill their emptiness but multiplies their purpose. For those who are weary, breathe fresh strength into their bones. For those who are doubting, send undeniable signs of your faithfulness. For those who feel forgotten, write their names across the sky in ways only they will understand. Bless their families, their finances, their future. Heal every wound that loneliness has carved into their hearts. Give them dreams that direct them, visions that guide them, and courage that conquers every fear that tries to keep them small. And Lord, when that divine encounter happens, when their eyes meet their destiny across a crowded room or a quiet coffee shop, let them recognize each other instantly. Let them know beyond any shadow of doubt that this is the moment you've been preparing them for their entire lives. In Jesus' precious name, who understands the loneliness of earth and the love of heaven, I seal this prayer over every chosen one listening. Let your will be done in their lives. Let your promises be fulfilled. Let your love story begin. Amen. Now, dear one, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us how this message has stirred your heart. What's shifting in your spirit as we approach tomorrow? What are you believing God for in this new season? Don't hold back. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to keep believing. And please, if this word has touched your soul, share it with someone who needs to know they're not forgotten. There's someone in your life right now who's been walking through the same wilderness you've traveled. They need to hear that their waiting has purpose, that their singleness has meaning, that tomorrow might just be the day everything changes. Thank you for staying with me through this entire message. Thank you for opening your heart to receive what heaven wanted to pour into you tonight. Your faithfulness to listen, to believe, to hope. When hoping hurt, it means more than you know. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. We're building something beautiful here, a community where faith grows, hope is restored, and love stories are born from the ashes of surrender. You belong here. This is your spiritual family. Until we meet again, walk in the confidence that you are chosen, you are loved, and you are never, ever alone. Your love story isn't over, it's about to begin. Rest in His peace tonight. Tomorrow, step into His promises. God bless you, beloved. The 12th of September awaits.